contestants.
Saying that it's never too soon. So are you ready to rock? Fella, don't ever stop. We are on a crash course of freedom, and we can go as long as we want. Yeah. Jump fast, let go.
Old Trinity was looking like an old hound dog chained to the porch for months. Over 2 years of abuse and enough river crossings to qualify her as a dang amphibian had her sounding like a dog's squeaky toy. Time for some fresh juices, if you catch my drip. With all those gears swimming in the good stuff, I figured it was high time to tighten up that e-brake. And hell, what better excuse to rotate those 37-inch Nitos. Pro tip, folks, yank the carpets before you go on a mudslinging adventure. I thought I would get ahead of the game, but I'm pretty sure there's still mud from 6 freaking states caked on my dash. At least the undercarriage does get a regular pressure wash baptism. You gotta fight the power of rust, man. Yeah, P knows what's up. After sign-in, it was straight to the Wild Turkey Festival. Food, fluids, and a healthy dose of small-town weirdness. Just what the doctor ordered. I felt at home, and the butterflies were expelled. One last fill-up before calling it a night, and in all the chaos, I plumb forgot to swap the tunes on the super chip. We would be stuck on the Economy 87 tune for the whole damn rally. Good for mileage, but bad for my ego. We took a slow lap to survey the competition. A motley crew of poor, misguided souls. All of us thinking we had a shot. Little did we know, over half the field wouldn't even see the finish line. That's how brutal this course was.
It's a bad idea.
As we were wrangling GoPros, charger cords, and enough electronics to launch a small satellite, 3 phones, 2 tablets, and 2 radios, our number was called. Gotta go, the nav man can sort out the charging situation on the fly. We rolled up to the start line, Trinity looking like a gladiator ready for battle, and I mean the Roman warrior, not those ugly overpriced Jeep trucks. And with that, we were off, into the wild unknown, ready to pit Trinity against the Appalachian mountains and the weather. What could possibly go wrong? We rolled out of McArthur, Ohio a little after 7 a.m. and spotted number 32, Hardline, lumbering on the horizon. We reeled him in slow and steady, then watched with a smirk as Hardline completely whiffed their second turn. And let me tell you, that was just the first of many navigational blunders for everyone on that Appalachian mountain route. I've seen straighter lines in a plate of spaghetti. Less than an hour in, we'd already clawed up a couple of spots, keeping it chill, until something dared to pass us. That just wasn't what I was expecting. We hit an off-road section, and that's when the hammer dropped. Pedal to the metal. We blew past another rig, and suddenly we had number 19, the Perplexus, breathing down our rearview mirror. My navigator was calling out the curves like a seasoned pro, and I had Trinity crossed up like a pretzel in yoga class. I was slinging gravel and putting a ton of dust in the air. Well, no dust, but you get the picture.
Mario Andretti would have sure been proud.
This is when I knew I had chose the right navigator for this adventure. Never one of my boys flinch easy, but this is the one I can count on to pull out his camera when the dust is flying. He was surprised when I told him we would be taking Trinity. I believe his first words were, "You're gonna roll it," and it was at that point that I realized he hadn't ridden with me and Trinity. He had borrowed it a couple times, but just enough to distrust her lack of sway bars. And I'll admit, she sways like a pontoon in rough seas, but those 37s act like anchors, keeping her planted on all fours. You can see by those big, beautiful wipers wiping that the rain had begun. At this point, we had already refueled and caught up to an Ineos, the masked grenadier, and chased him around for a bit. I did my best to keep up with the masked grenadier, but lost sight of him, and then bam, we got served. With a big old slice of humble pie missing a turn ourselves. Now usually I can spin Trinity around between the ditches faster than you can say four-wheel drive, but this time my left rear tire and some lug nuts decided to stage a mutiny. Turns out I'd forgotten to retorque the lug nuts before that green flag dropped. Rookie mistake, I know. Trinity was stranded smack dab in the middle of the road, looking as helpless as a Tesla in a hurricane. My first instinct, slam it into 4 low, reverse, get us out of the danger zone. And nothing. Wouldn't you know it, the transfer case shift cable had vibrated loose. Now, I'm under the Jeep, wrestling with a zip tie like a drunken octopus, just as the Lecker Brew media chase rig rolls up, cameras blazing, ready to immortalize my moment of epic failure. Finally, a rear dig out of the danger zone, and we were able to focus on getting the tire back on the Jeep.
I'm gonna try something new.
Oh, the exhaust jack. There you go.
I'm gonna try it.
Sorry that happened.
Oh, I was like, we felt it, and I was like, did you feel it steer from the rear end?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah.
That's my bad. I rotated them and didn't tighten them.
Ah.
Go back after 500 miles.
Yeah.
Figured it was a good time to try out my new balloon jack. I bought this oversized cheese puff of a jack over a year ago for a trip to Padre Island. My plan was to bury Precious in the sand just to see how well it worked and share the spectacle with you guys. But Padre Island had other plans for us. Subscribe to catch that story. Let's just say that overland trip was, I'm still not quite right in the head after that crap storm. Back to the blitz at hand. I was itching for an excuse to use the cheese puff. If it lived up to the hype, it'd be easier than unbolting the high lift jack from the bumper and wrestling with the extensive droop of that Terraflex long arm. Time is of the essence, after all. And I gotta admit it, it inflated faster than the high lift, and being hooked up to the compressor, it continued to lift while I had time to rummage around the Jeep, searching for my nuts and wrench. Eventually I remembered where I hid those precious lug nuts and was so proud to have overcome my newest challenge of old age, that being memory loss. Now, I would have liked to have been another foot or more further off the road, but time was ticking. How busy could this old back road be anyway? Famous last words, right? Turns out, Ohioans don't let the little drizzle keep them cooped up inside. There was more traffic out there than a Black Friday sale at Walmart. So I gotta give a shout out to the volunteers who made this whole shebang possible. Those brave souls risked life and limb out on the side of the road, waving their arms like madmen to warn traffic about our little predicament. They're the reason we didn't become a hood ornament, and for that, I'm eternally grateful. Seriously, God bless their souls. However, my balloon placement was a little off, and it caught a nasty splinter, losing lift in a hurry. Lecker Brew Media, aka Johnny on the Spot, couldn't just watch as we struggled and passed a bottle jack to us to finish the job. Now, I ain't gonna lie, I was in a bit of a rush, so I didn't even bother extending the bottle jack. I just slapped it under the control arm, quick and simple. But wouldn't you know it, she was just a little shy of lifting that hub high enough to clear those meats. We needed another inch. Just one measly inch. Compressor. I flipped that switch like I was launching a missile. Time to squeeze every last ounce of oomph out of that big balloon. Sam frantically plugging the leak with 2 fingers and a gallon of hope. And what do you know? That Lecker Brew Media bottle jack coughed up another glorious inch. Hallelujah. The tire back on, I grabbed the iron and gave the rest of the lug nuts a double grunt. For you civilized folk with your fancy power tools, that's roughly 10 ugga-duggas of pure, unadulterated torque. But mark my words, I need to go ahead and replace those wheel studs before I'm out in the driveway drilling the nuts off in the dark. And don't even get me started on the complete to-do list. I can't keep up. Front drive shaft just grenaded on me yesterday. Anybody got any experience with Oliver's drive shafts in Winston-Salem? Your advice might be a tad late since I'm ordering it today, and I'll let you know how that goes. Fingers crossed it ain't made of glass. That little snafu cost us a whopping 28 minutes, and being off course, we had no clue how many positions we'd coughed up. But here's the thing. Our goal was to coax Trinity across that finish line, come hell or high water, or torrential downpours and rogue lug nuts. And that, my friends, is exactly what we intended to do. We hadn't been back in the groove for long when we spotted a small heap of jeeps crawling along at a pace I could practically knit a sweater, or enjoy a snack. We tucked in behind them, drafting like we were at Daytona. Sam started digging through the chaos in the back for sustenance. Liquid IVs were mixed, electrolytes deployed. Sam was able to take a break from that glowing map oracle that is Onyx to wrestle with some charging cables, but naps? No, not on this adventure. My navigator? Dude's a dirt missile, locked and loaded. Sam's got a 6th sense for trouble and an even faster reaction time. Like a hound dog sniffing out a bone, he was heading straight for the problem at hand, and you know what they say, where there's a cloud of dust, there's some kind of solution brewing. His dirt addiction? Born honest, I tell you. This ain't no hobby, it's a lifestyle. Full-blown addiction passed down through generations of gearheads. So, yeah, no surprise there wasn't a flicker of hesitation when we threw that tire.
No surrender! No hesitation! No surrender! No surrender!
Just another weekend for a couple of XJ junkies. 'Cause, let's be honest, it wasn't the first time either one of us had introduced the pavement to a sidewall. Now, I ain't gonna lie, going into this shindig, my expectations were flatter than my pancakes. Figured keeping them low was the best way to dodge disappointmentville, you know? I signed up for this endurance challenge for 3 reasons. The grit your teeth challenge itself, the Appalachian scenery of southern Ohio, and to record an adventure with my youngest son. But let me tell you, as the date crept closer and the weatherman started howling about rain, a little devilish grin crept across my face. Rain, mud, that's like adding gunpowder and tannerite. It just cranks everything by 2 times. Now, after digesting the rulebook and realizing this wasn't going to be the Ohio Cannonball Run, but more of a 500-mile endurance throwdown with a 24-hour time limit, where the local fuzz knows every twist and turn. That being said, y'all can go ahead and blame the biblical floods, the hail that stung like a swarm of angry bees, and the flash floods that turned creeks into raging rivers squarely on me. 'Cause at one point, I may have raised my chin to the sky and cried out, "Bring it on, Lord." Sorry, not sorry.
It's time for a showdown! You and me! I'm right here! Come and get me!
comes what was dubbed the wall. Probably the toughest obstacle on the route and definitely the most destructive. It's no wonder why we spotted Lekabrew media cameras focused on anything coming and going. I was glad to see the Overland Edition ZJ backing away from this one. She was way too clean to rub on these routes. I don't know what this little climb looked like before the rain started, but I'm sure that it just got worse and worse as the rain poured down.
You are, but you also need to.
I know this rack is only rated for 250 pounds, but it has saved my soft top from trees and rocks many times. It acts kind of like a slider in tippy conditions and slow speeds. However, this time, I misjudged the whole kit and caboodle. Thinking I had room, I didn't even try to get the tires up on the wall. Hell, I didn't even hit the lockers. But I did have enough momentum to carry me through when both driver's side tires started spinning. Not wanting to stop and still not seeing the routes clearly through the windshield for some reason, I did what any adrenaline-filled Jeep owner would do. I hit the gas. When those mud grapplers finally caught traction, it was too late. Groot slapped Trinity upside the head, leaving a scar to remember. Kinda figured it would happen one day, but wasn't looking forward to it.
I am Groot.
That's alright, Groot. We're still friends. Now, we weren't the only ones that Groot slapped around that day. Let me know in the comments if you want to see how some of the other teams got along with Groot. Now, the original plan was to drive Trinity to the rally. Romantic, right? But then reality hit harder than a rock to the windshield. No hotel rooms within 60 miles, and ain't nobody got time for setting up camp this weekend. So, trailer it was. We loaded her up on the trailer behind my trusty Overland rig, Precious. Within an hour, Precious was breathing heavy, temperature gauge climbing faster than a spider monkey on a sugar rush. We started sweating bullets. Would we even make it to McArthur? That dealer ain't touching this truck again.
I tell you what.
7.5 hours of white-knuckle driving, windows down, heat cranked, and Precious finally wheezed into McArthur, Ohio, needing some attention of her own. That was a good warm-up for what was to come. One observation I made is that an event like this will shake out any bugs you got in your vehicle. Did you hear that seatbelt chime? No, I'm not one of those psychopaths that just let it ring. Something came loose in the latch, and at times it would just refuse to connect, no matter how hard I pushed it or wiggled it, how hard I slapped it. But sometimes, there was a few times it would just shut up. Not quite enough there to make us quit, though. We gritted our teeth and just put up with it. Of course, we remember the left rear lug nut mutiny. I guess I planted that bug by not retorquing after 50 miles. That was on me. Still a bug. Got shook out. But the biggest bug that the Buckeye Blitz batted out was the blasted windshield wiper. How many of y'all noticed that I ain't had a clean windshield since before the wall? We did make a brief stop on the side of the road again to investigate the situation. We could hear the motor spinning, so I grabbed a wiper to help it out a little bit, and it cycled once, but stopped. Pull, wipe, stop. Pull, wipe, stop. Okay. Well, one thing I keep in every vehicle is rope. It comes in so handy. Whether you need to walk your dog or restrain your wife so you can take your Jeep out on a rampage.
First, he tied me up outside. And then this fool dragged me in the shed. Had the rope around me like a damn hog and chained me up.
So I tied the big red rope around one of the wipers and bam, wipers worked. Well, kinda. It was a series of synchronized steps. I'm scared to share it though. Fiat might load this new design into the newer models. Roll down the window a bit. Hit the switch with your right hand, then grab the wheel with your right hand so you can take your left hand off the wheel, grab the rope with your left hand, pull the rope upward, wait for the wiper to complete one cycle, and pull the rope upward again. You repeat this until you're either tired or satisfied with the windshield. Roll up the window to catch the rope, put your left hand back on the wheel so the right hand you can take off and turn off the switch, because we don't want to burn up the motor doing that. As it turns out, it was the plastic gears in my Dong Yang had give out. Thank you, Fiat. Don't want y'all to think we were racing by people's houses. We were given a stern lecture on the rules and how to drive politely through these quiet, small, mostly peaceful communities. I say mostly peaceful because I live in a community like this and I know they're not always peaceful. Anyway, we were warned that complaints could lead to future events being canceled as well as criminal charges, because we were required to obey all the rules of the road. This is an endurance rally, not a race. Not a race. Not a race. I did have to remind myself that several times throughout the day. But most of the locals were happy to host the event, as we did raise a big chunk of cash for some local children that could use some assistance. But there's always a Karen of the county, and this one tried to block the paved road with her lawn furniture. The radios came in handy, warning those behind us not to fall for her little trap. Can you imagine living on a road like this? Do you live on a road like this? Have you lived on a road like this? Well, one day I will return to living on a road like this. Well, the GoPros did not do a very good job at picking up any of the conversations we had, but I did catch this little gem. As we got to the end of this river, it looked like there was two choices of which way to go, high or low, so I asked my navigator, and
High or low?
turns out he made the right call. Thanks for watching. Please hit those buttons and try to leave me a comment. I'll try to condense the rest of the rally into one video because I'm running out of time before the next event. You know, the Miners and Loggers Delight Part 2. And I need to spend a roll of duct tape on Trinity. I need to get that transfer case shifter cable locked in.